Beneath the familiar streets of London, there is another city that almost never sees the light. The surface has always told the story of empire, but the underground kept what the city preferred to hide. Down there, the damp, the silence, and the rusted iron seemed to preserve time in an almost hostile way. London was not built only upwards and outwards, but downwards as well, layer upon layer. Each new tunnel solved one of the city's problems, but also created the perfect place to disappear from sight. At first, they were channels, sewers, foundations, and structures built to keep London functioning out of sight. Then came the underground lines, turning the darkness into the circulatory system of an exhausted metropolis. But some of these places were not built for transport alone, and that is where the city begins to change shape. Because London's underground also became a shelter, a storehouse, a hiding place, a command center, and a territory of war. During the bombings, thousands of people went down beneath the city and turned platforms into places of refuge. Down there, life carried on, compressed between concrete, tracks, and the fear of everything falling from the sky. It is a deeply unsettling shift. The place built to move people became the place where they hoped to survive. Even so, this subterranean London did not disappear when the war ended, it simply grew quieter. Some stations were closed, some access points were sealed, and certain corridors came to exist only in rumor. The so-called ghost stations are where infrastructure and imagination begin to blur together. They are still there, motionless, while millions pass nearby without realizing there is a frozen city behind the wall. In London, abandonment never means complete absence. It simply means exclusion from everyday sight. What is most unsettling is realizing that the city continues to grow above places that were never fully left behind. Beneath buildings, avenues, and squares, there are corridors that still carry traces of haste, fear, and secrecy. Some were used for defense, others for logistics, and others simply to keep invisible what did not belong to the London above. That is why the underground does not feel merely technical, it feels psychological, as though the city had a physical unconscious. On the surface, London arranges its image. Underground, it accumulates what it does not wish to expose. Pipes, cables, narrow passageways, and sealed rooms have created a secret geography that very few people know in full. And the deeper one descends, the less the space seems to serve the city, and the more it seems to exist on its own terms. The feeling changes down there. It is not merely darkness, but the impression of being outside the map. This is the conceptual turning point of London's underground. It is not just infrastructure, but a second logic of the city. One city above for movement, display, and commerce, another below for concealment, endurance, and survival. That is how the parallel London was born, not from legend, but from the repetition of extreme necessities. The need to drain, to transport, to conceal, to protect, to keep everything functioning without drawing attention. But every structure created to be forgotten eventually acquires its own kind of mystery. That is why so many stories of sealed passageways and hidden platforms remain alive in London. Not everything is conspiracy, but almost everything down there invites the imagination to believe there is more than meets the eye. It is this ambiguity that feeds the fascination. The underground is concrete, yet it stirs the same unease as a legend. The metallic echo running through the tunnels seems to repeat a city still unfolding out of sight. Even when empty, this subterranean world never seems dead. It merely seems suspended, waiting for something. Perhaps because the underground preserves, better than the surface, that sense of diffused threat which shaped modern London. The city above changes its facades, erases its marks, and constantly reinvents itself. The city below, by contrast, preserves cracks, rust, soot, and functions that no one notices any longer. That is why the underground feels more honest. It was not built to impress, but to bear the weight of the entire city. And by bearing that weight for so long, it has also accumulated the rawest side of London's history. It is no wonder that so many secrets seem to make more sense beneath the ground than out in the open. Underground, the space tightens, the sound echoes strangely, and the city finally loses its poise. The parallel London does not live on fantasy, but on matter, silence, and the repetition of things that needed to remain out of sight. And precisely because it is real, this hidden world is more disturbing than any Gothic invention. Because it proves that every great city must hide parts of itself in order to keep functioning. And in very few cities is that truth as visible, as damp, and as quietly unsettling as it is in London.